In 2019, Women Solidarity Incorporated, WOSI, a national NGO and civil society organization in Liberia, launched a bold campaign for a proposed FGM law in Liberia. For decades, this practice has caused pain and trauma for many women and girls across the country. The campaign served not only to raise awareness but to push for a national law that will ban the practice of female genital mutilation in Liberia. Though no law was passed, the advocacy contributed to a one-year nationwide ban and the closure of all signing societies in which FGM is mostly practiced. WOSI Program Officer throws light on the organization's 2019 campaign for a law in Liberia.
In 2019, it was basically about creating awareness and advocacy on the proposed FGM bill that was then to be submitted at the National Legislature for passage into law. So the project was basically about creating that awareness and advocacy so that the bill will be passed. So as an institution, there are a lot of things we did. We held so many meetings, we conducted activities in the field. We collaborated with different institutions, different government agencies, CSO, the media, the community to create awareness and do some advocacy work. So at the end of the day, we were able to contribute to the suspension of the Sunday practice in Liberia in 2019.
The policy was issued by the government through the National Council of Chiefs and Elders and the Ministry of Internal Affairs. It calls for a halt on Sunday practice, the commission of an inventory on those who are practicing and were in the country, among others. WOSI Executive Officer highlights why the suspension was necessary.
Before 2019, it used to be very hard for people to just openly talk about FGM before we talk about banning it. So you see, from that point, and even most of the government officials, they were into that particular activities. They were like supporting it. So in the process of supporting it, imagine things that people have getting used to, you telling them to put stop to it, and they agree. So to me, it made an impact. And some of those reasons that the ban was introduced for girls children to go to school and the government to know how many counties and how many people were practicing FGM.
6 years later, WOSI returns to the same communities to reflect, to learn, and to discover what worked, what went wrong, and how Liberia can move forward. The 2019 campaign was one of the most powerful movements against FGM in the history of the organization. WOSI worked alongside the National Council of Chiefs and Elders of Liberia, Ministry of Gender, the Ministry of Internal Affairs, World Night Liberia, UN Women, and other civil society organizations to make the suspension possible. The campaign covered counties such as Bon, Grand-Basseur, Margibi, and Manserada, some of the communities where the Sonic tradition is strong and respected. It was a campaign filled with passion and hope, one that gave women and men the courage to speak openly about a topic often considered untouchable.
Whatever it goes to be about, people say when they feel now, they feel saying now, look at them. But when they say what they feel, what they supposed to do for already, like some of us, like me, Masaka Naga, Alice, so for most around. They always using me. When we talk to the women, but they never put me on payroll. I let that. So that I can use my own money to go.
Years later, WOSI returned to these communities to listen to their voices, to find out what impact the 2019 campaign made and whether attitudes towards FGM have changed. In a focus group, community members spoke about the situation.
And if you tell somebody, say, wait, we'll put moratorium on this thing, they should have the benefit, they should be able to support themselves, they should be able to send their children to school, because that's the way God sent them.
When you close the boys' school, it brought joy to the young people. It brought competition. God, you know your friend going to school and learning something. You won't learn more than that man. So you learn new things.
The people talk to them, they say, okay, since indeed we ask you people to lay all your traditional weapons down, and then you close the bush. What they were going to do is that they were going to put measures in place so that these people can be in power, so that at least they will lay the traditional weapon down for the time they talk about, right? Until all of us can put in measures how to go about doing it, so they can revise the way they're doing it.
The government said that 1 year it will close down. I was happy. People are trying to murmur, and I try to tell them, but this thing is not thing for you to murmur. But our government say this, you can't say anything about it. So the only thing, that pay our patients and see how best to send our children to school to learn for better tomorrow.
The publicity was made clear, where the entire districts were called into a tournament to carry on this awareness, and there was radio program carried out. It was educative, although we can say 100% well done.
In every village and town, we heard mixed emotions: hope, confusion, resistance, and acceptance. The dialogue showed that while awareness had grown, deep-rooted traditions still stood strong. The campaign against FGM has always needed the support of government institutions for a national policy. Assistant Minister of Culture and Custom at the Ministry of Internal Affairs spoke on the issue.
It was tough to even sit to discuss what they call FGM with practitioners. In 2019, we came up with the idea to suspend the practice for 1 year at the time we met in Uganda. Stakeholders, chiefs were represented by their counties, Sanazos were represented by their counties, and we agreed to suspend the practice for 1 year. Actually, to be frank, our practitioners respected the moratorium at the time, even though in other quarters, violations were taking place.
Awareness have been going on in the same fight to ensure that the law is passed, because that's the biggest one. Everyone wants to hear that the law have been passed. And one of the things is that in Liberia here, we all want to see laws on the book, but the implementation, the enforcement, are we very intentional about it? Are we true to ourselves, or are we going to say, okay, maybe in one region it's not happening in the other region?
Also, the Director of Human Rights at the Ministry of Justice talked about the cautions in addressing the issue of FGM.
Actions of the government of Liberia to address the issue of abolition of the FGM. The concern we have right now is that FGM is considered a national heritage by a huge majority of the population. So action by government to curtail or to abolish FGM has been with some level of caution for the preservation of the peace and sanctity of the state.
The drive of advocacy against FGM in Liberia, civil society actors were delighted about the suspension. The national coordinator of the National Coalition Against Harmful Practices expressed her thoughts on the issue.
But there was a 1 year ban on FGM. It was actually called a 1 year moratorium suspending harmful practices, including female genital mutilation. And that suspension was first of a kind in Liberia when it comes to working on harmful practices, because before it was a taboo for us to talk about FGM. But with the advocacy of many other organizations, including WOSI, we had this suspension.
After much discussion on the issue and all that was done, the policy implementation still remained a major challenge.
The monitoring was a challenge. For me, yes, holistically, not much support. The monitoring was still a challenge.
So the challenges range from civil society groups
not solely only onto the projects or to the advocacy. So to some extent, some international donors turn to be implementing partners, which have undermined the process because the process of the abolition of FGM is not a one-day thing. And with the force that international partners or donors came in with, not allowing civil society to take on the process entirely while they support from the back, undermine the process to some extent.
Traditional people still put up resistance and fear that we are intruding into the culture. They refer to FGM as culture. So why they say that we putting stop to it? So there was still practice of FGM going on in other communities. Serious practice were going on, even though there was suspension.
And the issue of the queer thing too, the queer people too, now also respecting the traditional people. I attended another meeting. Now FGM thing, people talking the way they open it all and they were there talking it, right? Even some guys were there that were part of that particular team. The way they put the thing, you know, myself, the political commander myself was saying outside one another, we bring our head down. Because the way they get talking the thing, we bring our head down, right? So if we're talking the traditional thing, we also need to leave respect for the people, right? We will not talk in a way that would disrespect them.
From government halls to grassroots gatherings, one message was clear. Ending FGM requires collaboration from every level of the society. After months of listening and learning, the findings became clear. The 2019 campaign made a strong impact in raising awareness, but it lacked follow-up support. Communities were inspired, yet many felt abandoned when the campaign ended.
The poverty rate high on all year. Seeing the post stop to the thing, no business, no nothing good going on. We suffering, even our children to send it to school, no way. No.
So you stop the boys' school, but what are you doing to help parents send the girls to school?
Must send our children to school for them to learn. Where they learn, tomorrow will become somebody. But you might just send your children to the start of police around 3 years, 4 years. This school, it is a good school. But those that are leading, they are spearheading the group. They need to be catered to. They have been damn sad. It made them to feel
Despite the
bad.
challenges, one success stood out. People are now talking. Silence, once a shield for FGM, has been broken. Change is possible, but it must be nurtured. The lessons from 2019 have given WOSI and its partners a clearer vision for the future. This time, the goal is not just a ban, but a law, a lasting solution built on awareness, community involvement, and political will.
We still need to do a whole lot on engagement. Engaging the traditional people, changing their mind, and bringing them on board, making them understand. So more engagements and awareness, should be, and then we should be able to listen to them. What are some of the things that we really think we can put in place to encourage them to say no to the practice? For example, some of them talk about economic empowerment, because they say that most of the people who practice the FGM get their source of living from in that practice. So if we want to change our practice, we need to find something that will replace that. So they need alternative assistance. Besides that, we need more community engagement. And also, we need to use both the national and international tools to engage government continuously, as well as using media and all set of communication channels to ensure that people really understand the advocacy so that they can support it.
In order to push for change, change is not an event that happens within a day. There should be a continual dialogue. There should be a series of research or survey carried on in order to know the problems that are happening. Because once you know the problems, you know about how to go and solve those problems rather. So once There's series of engagement with those practitioners, the community, and even the traditional leaders and things in the Ministry of Internal Affairs. And there's series research from other institutions going on. Knowing the problem, it will help a lot. So that can keep the momentum going all of the
Liberia stands at the crossroads between culture and change, between silence and action. The journey continues, and together we can make the next chapter a story of hope and freedom. This documentary is produced for Women's Solidarity Incorporated in review of its AWDF/LFS funded project of 2019. This initiative was funded by the African Women Development Fund.